No. Let go. Someone. I had just returned from work, exhausted from overtime, when I was about to enter the house. Someone grabbed me from behind, pinning my arms and restricting my movement. Shocked by what's happening, I tried to call for help, but a large hand covered my mouth. I struggled desperately to escape, but the grip was too strong. Eventually, I was dragged into a dark, narrow shed in the yard. I felt my life was in danger. No, someone help. Calm down, it's me. I heard the voice of the person holding me down as I struggled to escape. I stopped resisting when I recognized the voice. Fearfully, I turned around and saw my brother-in-law's face illuminated by the light seeping through the slightly open shed door. I'm sorry for doing this to you, but there's no other way. The person restraining me was Ted. His expression was so serious that it didn't seem like a prank or a joke. Seeing me calm down, he gently removed his hand from my mouth. Ted, why? It didn't seem like a joke, but I don't understand why. Just as I was about to ask why he did this, I heard a rattling sound from outside. Ted put a finger to his lips to silence me and glared in the direction of the sound. Be quiet. They're coming. Who are they? I stayed silent in confusion, listening to voices coming from the other side of the shed. I never imagined I would hear something so chilling. My name is Joan. I'm a 32-year-old office worker living with my husband, Tom. I met my husband at the gym we both go to. He helped me when I was struggling to use a training machine, and that's how it all started. He was considerate, kind, and charming, and we hit it off right away. We were quickly attracted to each other and started dating soon after. Our relationship was smooth sailing. The time we spent together was really enjoyable, and I naturally thought of a future with him. Tom seemed to feel the same, often hinting at marriage during our relationship. I clearly remember how happy I was when he actually proposed. I cried with joy. However, our marriage didn't go smoothly. Tom's mother was strongly against our marriage, and even our relationship. When I tried to greet her, she repeatedly rejected me, saying, I can't believe some unknown woman is trying to deceive my precious son. I will never approve of this relationship or marriage. Break up with Tom immediately. Even when I brought gifts and visited, she wouldn't even open the door, let alone let me into the house. Months passed with constant rejections and without a proper greeting, during which I changed jobs, and my parent passed away, drastically changing my environment. As I became mentally exhausted by everything that's happening, his mom's opposition, which didn't bother me before, started to wear me down. Tom also seemed to be somewhat disheartened. Maybe my relationship with Tom was not meant to be. Just as I was about to give up, Tom, who had been so rejected by his mother, determinedly said, I will convince her, and did so with great resolve. In the end, his mother accepted our marriage. I never expected her to accept it. Honestly, I thought there was no future for us, so hearing this lifted my spirits. When I heard the news, Tom and I jumped for joy. What made me the happiest was that he convinced his mother for our marriage. After going through all that, we were finally able to get married. However, even after getting married, I never saw my mother-in-law. We only took wedding photos and didn't even have a proper ceremony. I was told not to greet or call her, and I haven't spoken to her since that time. Tom would occasionally go back to his parents' house alone, and I would always stay at home. I asked Tom once if I should greet her, but he just said, it's fine. Tom could never say it, but maybe his mom still doesn't accept me. Given the history of strong opposition, maybe deep down I'm still an outsider for her. I thought it best not to force a greeting, so for a while, I lived a peaceful life with Tom, without any contact with his mom. Then one day, I got a call from my mother-in-law. She had injured her leg and was having trouble walking. Up until now, only Tom had been going to his parents' house, but this time I was suddenly summoned as well, and we went together. Facing my mother-in-law for the first time in years made me feel tense. It's been a while, Mother. My voice trembled a bit from the nerves. She had a bandage on her right leg, but she looked at me with the same sharp gaze as she had years ago. Yes, it's been a while. I've heard a lot about you from Tom. So, Joan, the past is the past, and let's put everything behind us. My mother-in-law smiled encouragingly. Put everything behind us? It wasn't really both of us, as she was the one rejecting me from the start. I didn't say this, and just listened silently. From now on, we should become a proper family. Then you'll find it easier to live here, right, Joan? Her tone left no room for disagreement. Was she implying that we should live together and that I should take care of her? Having been opposed to our relationship and marriage, and not seeing her for so long, I don't know her well and honestly, don't have a good impression of her. And now, suddenly, she was talking about living together. I couldn't easily agree to that. When she went to the bathroom, I whispered to Tom. I can't do this. Visiting is one thing, but I've never really talked to her. She was always against us, and now she wants us to live with her? I can't. I thought Tom would refuse, like he did before we got married. But Tom didn't back down. He put his hands on my shoulders. Don't say that. Think about it. This is a chance for you and Mom to get closer. You don't want to have lingering issues with her forever, do you? That might be true, but if you take care of her, she'll take care of you too. She said she wants to put the past behind us, and I believe it'll be fine. She's not the same as she was before. I'm always on your side, so let's give it a try together. With Tom always willing to meet me halfway, it became even harder to refuse. It's true that I have a bad impression of her because of the past, but Tom makes a good point. If I don't make an effort to meet her halfway, our relationship will never improve. All right. Since she's having trouble walking, we'll live together. Thank you, Joan. That's the Joan I know. Reluctantly, but knowing Tom was on my side, I agreed to live with my mother-in-law. A few days after deciding to live together, we moved all our stuff to Tom's parents' house. I chuckled at the pile of boxes, and as I grabbed a few to take to our room, I stepped into the hallway. A man in his late 30s with a sullen expression was standing at the end of the hallway. I gasped in surprise. Who could he be? Assuming he was family, I straightened up and smiled at him. I'm Joan, Tom's wife. Nice to meet you. Excuse me, but may I ask your name? Before I could get his name, he gave me a brief nod and went into a room. In the end, I didn't know who he was. When Tom happened to walk by to clean up, I hurriedly caught him and pointed to the door the man had entered, explaining what happened. Tom glared at the door with a resentful look. Oh, that's my brother. Your brother? I had no idea Tom had a brother. He's a hopeless loner. How long is he going to stay here? I wish he'd just leave. He's such a bore. You must hate having him around too, right, Joan? Apparently, his name is Ted. For some reason, Tom really hated his brother. Unlike Tom, his mom seemed to be very fond of her quiet son. According to my mother-in-law, Ted used to be a prodigy, excelling in both academics and sports, but one day he suddenly became a loner. While their mother grieved his sudden withdrawal, she was also happy to have him at home, so she wasn't too depressed about it. Ted rarely leaves his room. Even hearing about him from both of them, he still seemed unapproachable. Because he always stays in his room, I rarely see him, and when I do, he always looks serious. He gave off an aura of, stay away from me. I felt a vague sense of fear towards this mysterious, difficult man. As I got used to living in my in-laws' house, my mother-in-law's attitude of putting the past behind us gradually began to change. Joan, the kitchen isn't clean. And you didn't do a thorough job here either. Are you really a housewife? Because of her leg injury, she started leaving all the housework to me and constantly complained. Even though she had recovered enough to walk on her own, she showed no intention of doing any housework. I also had a job, so it was hard to keep up with the housework every day. Even when I tried to explain, she never tries to understand. On top of that, she demanded personal care. The increasing burden was tough. When I told Tom, I can't do the level of housework your mom expects from me every day because of my job, his response wasn't what I hoped for. That's on you, Joan. No wonder mom is mad. Do a better job next time. Even though he said that, Tom never helped. Despite saying we'd work together, it was always me taking care of his mom while Tom stayed late at work. We used to share the housework, but now, influenced by his mom, he ignored it. The husband who promised to be by my side was now siding with his mother. And that wasn't all. You haven't folded the laundry again. You're useless, Joan. Starting today, you need to give me money, come on. What? Money? Why? It's a penalty. For not doing the housework and making mom angry. You deserve to be punished for not doing your job. Saying I wasn't doing the housework properly, Tom took all my income. I was given only an allowance for my living expenses. With the money they get from me, they bought whatever they wanted and indulged themselves repeatedly. Meanwhile, I was forced to live frugally. Tom wasn't like this before, now there's no trace of his former self. Despite everything, I still wanted to believe in him. I thought he was temporarily influenced by his mom and would eventually return to his true self. Believing this, I continued to finish the housework even after they have gone to bed. One night, as I was doing the dishes late, Ted appeared from the dark hallway. Oh. Ted. I'm sorry it's so late. Was I being too noisy? I was surprised to see him, as we rarely crossed paths. I had tried to be quiet, but even though his room was far, I worried I might have woken him and quickly apologized. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. That day, I heard Ted's voice for the first time. Until then, he had only nodded, so I wondered, somewhat rudely, if he could actually speak. In a low, calm voice, Ted spoke plainly, then took a drink from the fridge and went back to his room. Though I hadn't spoken much with him and he had an unapproachable aura, he didn't seem as bad as Tom made him out to be. Maybe it was because I unconsciously compared him to my nagging mother-in-law and my now unkind husband. Feeling a strange sense of relief from our normal conversation, I continued with my chores. A few days later in the morning, I had to leave for work earlier than usual and was busily preparing breakfast. Joan, could you organize this shelf for me? I want to put some new magazines in. And while you're at it, give it a light cleaning. Right away, please. My mother-in-law pointed to the bookshelf, cluttered with books and files, while holding a few magazines. It was the shelf Ted always managed carelessly. It would take some time to organize it. But the clock was nearing the time and I have to leave for work. I didn't have the time. I'm sorry, but I have to go to work now. I'll organize the bookshelf when I get back. I don't care about your job. I'm having trouble here. Can't you organize it right now? When I refused, she got angry and told me to hurry up. Honestly, she could organize it herself, but I'm the one struggling with these unreasonable demands. Even while getting ready for work, she kept nagging and making sarcastic remarks. Not wanting to further upset her, I asked Tom, who leaves later than I do, to organize the shelf. But his response was far from pleasant. That's the job Mom asked you to do. If you don't have time, you should have gotten up earlier. Don't push your shortcomings to me. Tom looked annoyed and blamed me indifferently. My mother-in-law's leg had healed some time ago, and Tom should still have some time before leaving. After all, it's his own mother. If she's in trouble, he should help her. Why is he so uncooperative? She pressed me to just hurry up and do it, while Tom criticized, why didn't you get up earlier? It was almost time for me to leave. I'm really sorry. I'll definitely do it when I get back. I don't have time now, so please excuse me. No matter what they said, I need to go to work, so I fled the house, leaving them behind. Hey, Joan. Are you going to leave your household duties undone? Wait. What's with that attitude? You're just my daughter-in-law. Until the front door closed, I could hear Tom and his mom shouting angrily behind me. Their insults echoed in the back of my head until I reached the office. Drained from the morning's stress, I focused on work all day, then headed home late at night, exhausted from overtime. The in-laws' house loomed before me. I wondered how much housework awaited me at home. As soon as I opened the front door, they'd start nagging at me again. I dreaded going home and felt a sense of gloom. I didn't immediately reach for the door. Instead, I took a moment to gather my thoughts and took a deep breath in the yard. I'll act normal when I get back. Just as I was calming myself down. What? Someone suddenly grabbed me from behind, pinning my arms and restricting my movement. My eyes widened in shock, and for a moment, I couldn't speak. No. Let go. Someone. I managed to cry out for help, but a hand from behind covered my mouth before I could scream. I struggled desperately to escape, but the grip was too strong. Eventually, I was forcibly dragged backward and shoved into a dark, narrow shed in the yard. The attacker was behind me. What should I do? No, I'm going to be attacked. It's me, calm down. The calm, low voice of the person holding me down made me stop struggling. Fearfully, I turned around and saw Ted's face illuminated by the moonlight seeping through the slightly open door. I'm sorry for doing this to you, but there was no other way. I promise I won't do anything else. Please, trust me and calm down. Ted's face was serious. It didn't seem like a joke or a prank. As I calmed my racing heart and stopped resisting, he gently removed his hand from my mouth. Ted, why? I could see he was serious, but I didn't understand why he would do this. Just as I was going to ask Ted, I heard a rattling noise from outside. It was coming from the direction of the house. Ted put a finger to his lips to silence me and glared in the direction of the sound. Be quiet. They're coming. Them? As I stayed silent as instructed, I heard voices from the other side of the door. I thought I heard something. Maybe it was just my imagination. She should be back by now, but she's late. Joan really annoys me, especially at times like this. When she gets back, we'll tie her up and make her obey. I'm sick of being around her. Let's get it over quickly. It was Tom and his mom. Tie me up and make me obey? I knew they were talking about me, but what on earth were they planning? A cold sweat ran down my cheek. We'll catch her off guard. She'll be relaxed since she just got back. I know, we can't let our guard down. After all, we approved of your marriage for a reason. Got it? When she can't resist, we'll break her neck. Listening to their conversation sent shivers down my spine. They are planning something horrifying. My mind was in a panic. If I had gone back home as usual, I might not be alive right now. Mom, let's go over the plan inside. We can't risk someone overhearing us out here. At Tom's suggestion, they went back inside the house. I heard the front door close and quietly slipped out of the shed with Ted. My heart was pounding unpleasantly. I was relieved we hadn't been caught, but after hearing their terrifying conversation, I couldn't calm down. If they find me, I knew I wouldn't get away unharmed. I'm really sorry for having such a mother and brother. It's disgraceful that I put you in danger like this. Ted lowered his voice and sincerely tried to apologize. I hurriedly shook my head. No, it's not your fault, Ted. Actually, you saved my life, thank you. But why were they saying those things? I'll tell you what I know later. Right now, we need to focus on getting you out of here. Once Mom and Tom are asleep, you need to leave as quickly as possible. Even though they treated me badly, I never thought they would plan to kill me. Ted's expression grew stern. Talking here increases the risk of them finding out, he said, then fell silent. Ted was right. We needed to escape now. We exchanged contact information, and once the lights in the house went out, I quietly slipped inside. With Ted's help, I gathered the bank books that had been taken and packed my bare essentials before safely escaping the house. I rented a room at a nearby hotel and took the next day off work. Early in the morning, I got messages from Tom and his mom saying, "It's ridiculous that you didn't come home. Come back immediately," but I ignored both. Once I had settled down, I contacted Ted. After briefly explaining the situation, Ted was relieved that I had escaped safely. When I asked him what was going on, Ted's voice grew serious. "Actually, the other day, I overheard Mom and Tom planning to go after your assets." "Going after my assets?" "But they already have my salary." "That must be a mistake. Tom gets almost all my salary." "Wasn't there something else? A large inheritance from your parents, perhaps?" "They were after that." Ted's words made me realize I did have another bank account. In that account was a large inheritance from my deceased parents. They were after that inheritance. According to Ted, Tom noticed the inheritance from my parents while we were still dating and used it to convince their mother, who had been strongly against our marriage. Blinded by greed, they conspired to pretend to be on my side, marry me, and then take the inheritance. My vision darkened. There was no kind husband or mother-in-law who approved of our marriage. It was all a ruse to get their hands on the inheritance. I'm truly sorry for such a terrible family. Actually, the reason I became a loner was because of family issues too. Ted said his mom's overbearing interference ruined his job and marriage prospects. Even though it was a job Ted wanted, she would call the company every day, complaining that it wasn't suitable. She also harassed the woman he was supposed to marry. Ted said he lost hope and became a loner after being subjected to Tom's heartless verbal abuse daily. But this incident was a wake-up call. If I stay with parents who would harm their son's wife, I'll end up no better. I'm going to follow your example and leave. Ted's voice was bright with determination. Fortunately, Ted is still a genius and didn't struggle to find employment. He had passive income and had been giving part of it to his mom. Ted mentioned that Tom had been jealous of him for being talented and favored by their mother since childhood. Ted will likely bounce back quickly. I'll also work on cutting ties with Tom and Mother. Good luck to you too, Ted. I needed to resolve this quickly. With determination, I ended the call and headed to City Hall to get divorce papers. It was the first step towards separating myself from them. After a few days of living in a hotel, I found a new place and started my daily routine of going to work. I kept getting calls from Tom and his mom, but I ignored them all. However, an incident occurred. Frustrated by the lack of communication, they both stormed into my workplace. "That woman ran off with our money. Joan, I know you're here. Let me talk to you. Your money is my money. Tell me where to transfer your salary." As soon as they stormed in, they started saying outrageous things and causing a scene. They knocked over plants and pounded on the walls, demanding to see me. Their shameful behavior made me feel more embarrassed than scared. I couldn't leave things as they were, so I calmed them down and got permission from my boss to talk with them in the conference room. Knowing I might not be able to handle it alone, I asked a reliable boss who had supported me after my parents' death to join the meeting. Under the watchful eye of my supportive boss, I handed the divorce papers to the raging Tom and mother-in-law. "Please divorce me. I'm not coming back to you. I have the signed divorce papers ready for you to sign at any time." When I firmly said this, Tom scoffed at me. "Divorce? Ridiculous. You think I'll let you get away after running off with our money? I'm not letting you go. I'll straighten you out from scratch." Tom pounded the table and spoke angrily, but I wasn't intimidated by his attitude. "The money you took from me by force isn't your income. And the money you're giving me is just a fraction of what I should have. Do you think you can get away with this? So what? What's yours is ours." No matter how harshly I spoke, they were completely unfazed. Without showing any remorse, they dodged my words and refused to sign the divorce papers. "I know everything. Including your plan to take the inheritance." They both flinched. They looked as if they wanted to ask how I knew. They clearly remembered their dirty scheme to seize the inheritance. Sign the divorce papers, or should I call the police? Your choice. See, calling the police is an overreaction. Yes, it's an overreaction. It's your fault for running away. They still tried to make excuses. I was appalled by their stubbornness. My boss, seeing their strained expressions, sighed deeply. Excuse me, but from what I've heard, your actions are unacceptable. And storming into the company like this is beyond reason. It's nothing short of an invasion, and we could involve the police if necessary. As soon as my stern and authoritative boss mentioned involving the police, Tom and his mom turned pale. There were no more excuses. Sensing this, Tom broke into a cold sweat and frantically ran his hands through his hair. All right. I'll sign it. Tom grabbed a pen roughly and signed the divorce papers with messy handwriting. Muttering complaints, he kicked a chair and stormed out of the conference room. His mother hurriedly followed him out. I apologized to my boss for the trouble caused by my family, and he smiled and said it was all right. He told me to rely on him whenever I needed, and I am very grateful for that. Anyway, I had obtained the signed divorce papers. I felt relieved that I could finally move forward with the divorce. After that, I hired a lawyer to demand alimony from Tom. Actually, Ted informed me that he had evidence of Tom's infidelity. The other woman was younger, and Tom had been going to hotels with her on nights he claimed to be working late. I finally understood why his overtime had increased. I didn't feel disappointed since I no longer had any affection for him. I only hated Tom for leaving all the household chores and his mom's care to me, taking my money, and playing around freely. The alimony was to ensure the divorce was his fault, so the amount was lower than usual. However, Tom was displeased with being asked for alimony at all. What's this alimony about? You have no right to demand that from me. You're the one who cheated. Anyway, you need to pay the alimony. What? Cheating isn't a big deal. You're so narrow-minded. Drop the alimony claim right now. Does he not realize what he's done? His selfish statements gave me chills. My lawyer, who was beside me, told Tom the amount is thanks to Joan. The alimony could be more expensive. Not wanting the amount to increase, Tom reluctantly backed down. Then please proceed with the payment. And from now on, stay away from me. I don't want anything to do with you, just make sure you pay the alimony otherwise. When I hinted at their plan, Tom fell silent, looking like he had bitten into something bitter. I looked at him with a cold gaze, as if saying, of course. I couldn't bear the thought of being targeted again. My lawyer nodded and issued a restraining order against Tom and his mother. Later, I received a call from Ted. It seems he successfully escaped from the family home. His reclusive nature worked in his favor, allowing him to escape without being noticed. 2 days after Ted escaped, their mom called me in a panic, realizing he was gone. Ted is gone. You convinced him to leave. This is your fault. She was yelling on the phone, but I responded calmly. I did nothing. Isn't Ted gone because of your overbearing behavior? Besides, you need to keep your promise. The lawyer told you to stay away from me. She was furious, lost her momentum and fell silent when I said this firmly. I hung up and blocked her number. I would never reveal Ted's whereabouts. She needed to reflect on her actions. Sometime later, Tom invited his mistress to the family home, planning to marry her. However, due to his mother's constant harassment and paying alimony, she lost patience and broke up with Tom and left him. Most likely, he had counted on my inheritance and had little savings of his own. Tom and his mom were living together, but since they were used to splurging with my income, they couldn't lower their living standards and developed a habit of overspending. They bought unnecessary things and were struggling to make ends meet. Also, without me, their personal maid, they were living lazily without doing any housework. As a result, the house had turned into a garbage dump. In his desperate situation, Tom weakly begged, I was wrong. Can we start over? But I immediately refused, citing the restraining order, and blocked his number. I will never forget that they tried to harm me for my inheritance. The family home had fallen into a complete ruin, with weeds growing in the garden, and its dark atmosphere led the neighbors to call it a haunted house. On the other hand, Ted and I celebrated our freedom with a toast. Thank you, Joan. Thanks to you, I can start my life over. Ted, who had seemed unapproachable in the house, had become noticeably softer in demeanor, thanks to his newfound freedom. He is a comrade with whom I escaped that house. Neither of us is bound by that house anymore. Ted and I have now taken the first steps toward our own free lives.